It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Longe. How are you? How was your weekend?
Fine. My weekend was fine. A bit disappointed. I got a bit of a disappointment. So I had planned on my Saturday, I was going to stop over at Topper's event, and I was looking forward to going for Mr. Otitoji's wife's event as well. And I had made some arrangements which fell apart, and it ended up that I had to stay home because my kids were going to be home with no one else. So I felt a bit left out, especially I don't really go out as much, and when I do, I plan ahead, and the plans didn't work out. So first of all, my apologies to Topper because I really wanted to be there.
It was a nice event. I enjoyed it. I actually thought it was a prayer meeting. I don't know why I got the So I just went there looking like a prayer
warrior.
And Topper said, no, go back and do your makeup, please.
Oh, because it was close now.
I was like, what is this? So I had to go back home and get my makeup bag, and I just looked the part of an event. But it was a good event. I think it was fantastic. We got a lot of good information.
It was, I'm grateful to God, and I also feel like it was, I personally didn't plan the event. It was actually my staff that came up with the idea. I was planning everything until like 2 weeks to the date. She now told me, this is what she had put together. These are the guests. This. I'm like, this is a big deal. Why didn't you tell me anything about it? Okay, let me see. You cannot bring in those people. Let me bring in the people that I know as well. And I'm happy that you guys showed up. We had fun. And we heard a lot of stories. And those stories are really important because they inspire you and they correct you from making the same mistakes. So the event was about real estate and how women can safely own real estate and balance being wealthy with being happily married, protect their property in case things go wrong, and very crucial information that I feel.
I thought so.
Yes.
Very good. Well done, well done. We did. Hopefully we'll start every year, annually. Yeah, I had a very busy weekend.
Tell us.
I mean, Saturday was
Lagos babe.
Mr. Otitoji's wife's 50th birthday. It was really cool. Yesterday was Senator Okoyemi Bamidele's 60th birthday. It was at Harbour Point. It was, in fact, the whole of Nigeria was there. In a nutshell, everybody was there. And it was good to, I was MC with the Gbenga Denka. It was fun to do, yeah, it was really cool.
Gbenga is
he's a pro at a different level.
I've done
as they are coming, he already knows, not just know their name, he knows their title.
They were there to hail them.
How did you know?
I've done events.
No, I was just like, okay. I was just trying to comport myself.
Good collaboration then.
Yes. It was an Ekiti Parako. My husband was really, really proud. As an Ekiti son. You know, he has his people, he felt like, what's you want? I'm a victim of Lagos. But it was a nice Ekiti circle, and I saw Chief Woliadan Olanipekun, quite a number of people, the governors. I mean, it was a good event.
Once again, happy birthday
to Senator Okoyemi Bamidele. Many happy more years ahead.
Happy birthday.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with The Nation this morning. ECOWAS threatens military action against Niger junta. Civil Service President praises Ig Imokwede's foundation. NECA, others to NLC. Protests will hurt fragile economy. Ondo APC happy with nomination of Tunji Ojo as minister. Governor slams curfew on state after looting of food items. How ministerial nominees will be screened by Senate. Tinubu directs probe of CBN-related entities. Okay, we can start with the major headline. African leaders yesterday have resolved to rid the continent of military coup by slamming the junta in Niger Republic with some sanctions. According to the report, the ultimatum is for them to reinstate deposed President Mohamed Bazoum or face stiff sanctions. The African Union gave Niger Republic authorities a 15-day ultimatum to vacate power and allow democracy to thrive. Others have hailed the ECOWAS for the stance on this, as the US, the AU, and others. And they're also going to include closures of land and air borders by neighboring countries, suspension of commercial flights, cancellation of commercial and financial transactions and assistance, and freezing of the country's assets and bank accounts. However, the junta have responded, saying that if the ECOWAS tries anything, they will be met with stiff resistance from them. Well, we'll see how that goes, because the ultimatum hasn't set, and hopefully some kind of truce will come soon, because lives are going at risk and properties are also at risk in the Niger Republic right now. Okay?
Yes, and I have the story from Adamawa State. So the governor of Adamawa State, Governor Amadou Fintiri, has imposed a 24-hour curfew in Adamawa State after some hoodlums invaded government and private warehouses in Yola, and they looted food items. He said that the curfew has followed what he calls a dangerous dimension the activities of hoodlums have assumed across Yola, where these people would attack innocent indigents with machete, break into business premises, and in this case, they also carted away many properties. He's saying that the curfew imposed, there will be no movement throughout the state, and warning all residents to abide by the curfew or risk arrest and prosecution. So the looting, I think a lot of us heard over the weekend, is what they are describing it as self-help palliative measure. The same way this happened also like in the 2020 NSAS era, and a lot of people were, attacking warehouses and taking food out. And they're saying this was almost in the same way. In fact, there was one particular warehouse in Kwenanwaya in Yola Numan Highway that was attacked during the NSAS, that was affected here as well. They also said the PZ warehouse in Jamaica, as well as a facility belonging to Senator Ahmed Barata, that's the campaign DG of Senator Aishatu Binani of the APC too, that was attacked as well. Anyway, they are saying that these hoodlums had operated around 9 a.m. They took rice, noodles, seasoning, cans of vegetables, palm oil, and
I'm sure they will sell it.
They're just saying,
premium.
well, they're saying that they're saying they did it because of the hike in price of fuel, the removal of subsidy. But is this really the way that we should handle it? But there are some people that are saying that we have just created an atmosphere, that the policies have just created an atmosphere for something like this.
Okay, another story.
Yes, I want to take the story about the NECA. So NECA is the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, which is the umbrella organization for employers in the organized private sector. And they are asking NLC to not to protest. So the NLC had given a 7-day ultimatum, and they had said that they wanted to compel the government to reverse its anti-poor and anti-workers policies, which is the economic challenges that everybody is facing. And the president of NECA had said that this would hurt our economy, that Nigeria is already struggling to recover from all the crisis that has been going on since 2020, and that Nigerian Labour Congress should give the presidency and this administration a few more months to consolidate what they are working on. However, activists, Femi Falana, has said that NLC hasn't done anything wrong in saying they want to carry out a peaceful protest. But former governor of Abia State, Orji Uzor Kalu, said that being an employer of labor and someone who had been in government, he would appeal to NLC not to ridicule the kind of change that this administration is trying to implement. That's a difficult time for Nigerians, even poor and rich are affected, that he has a lot of staff and he understands what the economy, the impact of the economy on his companies, as well as his staff, as well as himself. And he's appealing that NLC should just hold on a bit for the government to implement their promised palliatives and give them time. Don't cripple the economy right now. A lot of people are struggling to eat. If you protest or shut down the economy, it will cost a lot of challenges for the people you are trying to defend.
The Punch. Uncover CBN NNPCL mess. Economist groups tell Tinubu's special investigation. Niger coup plotters dismiss ECOWAS threats. Resume reinstatement. NDLEA nabs Lagos nightclubs, drug suppliers. Government warns operators. Operation Flush. 88 robbery suspects arrested in Lagos. Clampdown continues. Over 2,000 Nigerian girls stranded in Mali, says NAPTIP. 15 ministerial nominees submit credentials ahead of screening. Kanu returns to DSS custody after checkup by personal doctors. And NLC insists on Wednesday strike mobilizes workers. Okay, which story are we starting with?
NDLEA. So NDLEA have arrested a Lekki-based artist manager and his accomplice, who's an Ikoyi businessman. So both of them are said to specialize in the distribution of illicit drugs. They deliver their drugs to nightclubs and lounges in Lekki and other areas on the Lagos Island. In fact, this report names, their addresses, and the lounges and clubs that they send these things to. So some of the places they deliver to is Quilox, Silver Fox, DNA, Hotbox.
Drugs?
Yes. They also, the names... Oh, sorry. So, okay, Oseni Babatunde is the person. He lives in Lekki, number 3, Okwe Daniel Taiwo Street, off Chisco bus stop in Lekki areas. It's well spelled out. It's also known as Papa Lampa. He was arrested. They say it was intelligence-based. These consignment had come in and was traced to him. And in fact, when they searched his house, they found that he had similar items that had just arrived as well. And they were able to, it led them to his accomplice, an Inandi Ikena, who lives in 18 Okotiebo in Ikoyi. That one was, they were waiting for him. When he had gone off to South Africa, when he got in, they were able to arrest him.
Wow.
Wow.
As in,
wow. I mean, these are places that we know. Yes. Like, we can go and point out to these places.
This is good. This is a good bust for our drug enforcement fight.
Let me take the story on Nnamdi Kanu. So the leader of the separatist group, Indigenous People of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, was on Sunday returned to custody after he had seen on Saturday by his personal physician. The Federal High Court in Abuja had, back on July 20th, ordered the DSS to grant Kanu access to his personal physicians, dismissing the DSS's objection to that prayer. According to IPOB, Kanu is suspected to be suffering from ear infection and needs surgery. His lawyer, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, actually tweeted that he witnessed the consultation, said it's equal to a vowed assurance to keep Nnamdi Kanu's people abreast of what's going on. I must tell you that I witnessed the consultation as part of the protocol. The medical examination was seamless and productive, and he will be progressing to the next stage soon. So we're happy that the DSS have finally complied with the court order to allow Nnamdi Kanu to see his personal physician. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. You have a story in Punch?
Yes. So in a Operation Flush, the Lagos State Police Command has arrested no fewer than 88 suspects. These are suspected criminals. It took place over a 24-hour period after the launch of the Operation Flush, and it is to address the concerns of Lagosians. It took place on Sunday. The Commissioner of Police for Lagos, Idowu Owohunwa, on Thursday launched the operation and said that it was to flush out criminals, particularly traffic robbers and other miscreants. And they've been able to arrest 88 of them. They also mentioned that they took people from, that if you pass through Orile, you will see that we have permanent police deployment in those areas. They've called on local government chairmen to support them, and they are affirming that they are going to continue this operation. Then they said on gender-based violence that they have scaled up the capacity of the units within the police that handles these issues, and they are asking journalists to be part of the force. I'm happy to hear this report. I noticed I was at Bega on Friday, and there were some boys that were pacing back and forth. And you know, like we kept, and we're stuck in the traffic. They were just looking for how to get in. And there were police officers just a few, like 2 minutes after where they were. So police officers can be stationed, but if they don't move around and create an environment that says if we see you running and you're caught, you're in trouble, we might still end up having them stationed and robberies
police are
take
overwhelmed because we have one or two
How
police,
many
so
of them?
they have like 50 of those boys come around, you know, so they are also protecting their own lives. So
And those boys are also watching the police move.
that's why we also need CCTV cameras, you know, and ways to trace these guys.
so that we don't kill our
Get your
police officers.
NIN number, get your BVN so you can trace, you know, everything is linked somehow. Okay, moving on now to Daily Sun. NLC adamant on mass action and strike. LP fourth choice of the ministers. Finally, DSS allows Nnamdi Kanu access to private doctor. Northern groups call for protest over hunger in region. Tinubu appoints special investigator to probe CBN amid Emefiele's trial. ECOWAS gives Niger Republic coupists 1 week to reinstate Bazoum as president or may use force. Okay, let me take the LP. So the leadership of the Labour Party has berated President Bola Tinubu over the ministerial list forwarded to the National Assembly. Their spokesperson, the National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Obiora Ifo, said the list was completely below expectations of Nigerians. He actually faulted the fact that the list is being presented in batches, says that they're going to seek legal action against this. They're going to seek appropriate legal advice on the legality or otherwise of a piecemeal submission of ministerial list as opposed to the submission of the full list. They're also saying that they expected more quality, character, dynamic, and result-oriented Nigerians, not just recycled politicians. You know, so they've given their own views on the ministerial list of our president. Okay, any other story?
The opposition should. So we now have the Northern Group is the Arewa Citizens Watch for Good Governance is threatening to embark on a massive protest over what it has described as widespread hunger. They said that they would begin mobilization of their supporters from Thursday, and their demand is the removal of Mele Kyari, that's the Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL, and also the heads of the company subsidiaries for the role they played in subjecting Nigerians to untold hardship over the increase in the petrol prices. They spoke to news people, and they're saying that they believe, according to what they said, that they believe strongly that the endemic and systemic corruption in NNPC is that NNPC is known for is encouraged by racketeering, you know, in the former administration, that's the subsidy administration, and as far as they're concerned, it was headed by Mele Kyari and the subsidiary heads, and they're blaming them also for the artificial fuel scarcity that happened in 2022, for the queues that Nigerians had to, that they were on, you know, because of this fake scarcity. They accuse them also for the pre-election scarcity, so many other things concerning petroleum products being sold or being scarce and all that. And they're saying that they believe strongly that NNPC is corrupt and he should be removed.
I have the Godwin Emefiele story is an update. The president, Bola Tinubu, has appointed a special investigator to probe the CBN and related entities. The person's name is Jim Obaze. He was a former chief executive officer of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, FRCN, and his directive, a letter was sent to him that he should begin this special investigation. And they also, into the CBN, from the suspended CBN governor, he's supposed to report directly to the president on the information that he gets. They also mentioned that they are expecting to get details from him on a weekly basis, is to investigate relevant security and anti-corruption agencies, using all the related people to relevant security agencies, anti-corruption agencies. He should recruit suitable and experienced, competent, capable team to work with him and send briefings to the presidency on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Okay, moving on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Tinubu orders probe of CBN. Rising cost of living, UBA improves staff welfare. Obey appeal court dismissed PDP's petition. Sani tells Tribunal. We are set for screening of ministers, says Senate. ECOWAS gives Niger coupists 1 week to reinstate president. Youth break into Nema warehouse in Adamawa, steal maize, rice, mattresses, and others. Ondo APC commends Tinubu nomination of Tunji Ojo. And CBN's currency floating policy will kill the Naira, says O.A. Lawal. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Yes, the Senate says that they will commence screening of the 28 ministerial nominees. They said as we remember, we had 28 nominees unveiled, but we still have 11 states missing. We also, the Chief of Staff to the President has also said that the minister intends to separate portfolios or restructure the ministries in such a way that you might be hearing of new ministries that were not standalone ministries before. So the process continues. He also said that this is just the first batch of nominees for screening and confirmation. And also the Senate has shelved this vacation that was supposed to go to and says that they're going to start screening. They asked the National Assembly, they said that they're not doing this particular screening in batches. They said they'll all arrive there on Monday and they would see each and every one of them. And if they're unable to see all of them by Monday, they'll continue on Tuesday. It says that some of them, of course, will have petitions written against them. And so for those ones, we know that will take much longer. So that's it.
About 9 have dropped their CVs, and a few of them have also been had their fingerprints done. I will take the story of over 2,000 Nigerian girls are currently stranded in Mali, based on the latest information released by the Benin Zone Commander of NAPTIP, that's Nduka Nwanwene. She was of the opinion that, he's of the opinion that, based on the intelligence they've gathered, that a few of Nigerian girls are trying to, they are being trafficked, and right now they are stranded in Mali. Many of these young girls have been taken, they are bringing them back from Mali to Benin. They were taken for prostitution, actually, and the total number of girls that have been stranded in Mali, about 20,000 Nigerian girls. That Mali used to be a destination for girls trafficked by Nigerians. Now the reverse is the case, as Mali girls are being trafficked to Benin City for prostitution. Now, Mali girls are being trafficked to Benin City for prostitution. So we called on all stakeholders and supporters towards ending the menace of human trafficking and contributing towards the achievement of the SDG goals.
Okay, finally, the renowned economist and author, Dr. O.A. Lawal, has told the CBN to stop the Naira floating policy. According to him, he says that the nation's economy cannot withstand a floated Naira, adding that the World Bank and IMF will destroy the Naira completely if care is not taken. According to him, he recommended the adoption of a managed currency system that the country cannot afford to leave its currency at the mercy of certain forces, thereby expanding the frontiers of inflation and instability. He was worried that when IMF and the World Bank are asking you to do something, it might actually cause a problem since that IMF and World Bank are not friends. They're not friends of developing countries. They would do something that would help their own economy. What they are doing today is to destroy the Naira for us. If care is not taken, that is why they introduced the floating exchange system. So he's advocating that we should have something called the managed currency or a fixed exchange, something that is not so much fixed, but somewhere in the way it's allowed to, the currency would only be allowed to fluctuate between two narrow limits, the upper and the lower limits, which he said would be a better option for us to eliminate arbitrage. So I think that's all we can take on front page review. Let me just read up on Vanguard. I think we've taken all the stories in Vanguard.
Yeah. Subsidy
removal in Nigeria on brink of collapse, says Catholic bishops. 5 killed in Adamawa as hoodlums loot government's private warehouse for food items. Tinubu commends Ike Imokwede Foundation Endowment Fund for Civil Service Debt Development. ECOWAS gives Niger Republic coup plotters 1 week to restore Bazoum as president. And hostile business environment, foreign investments in manufacturing fall 51% to $978.3 million. Tinubu appoints special investigator to probe CBN-related entities. Okay, I think that's all we can take on front page review. When we return, move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So according to a report we read in The Punch by reporter Tunde Ajaja, he was examining the rate at which children of top politicians and elites are dominating the political space. He coined it political dynasties, both for appointive and elective positions, and what it portends for the system. According to him, in the political enterprise, every election season seems to come with intriguing developments, and the 2023 general elections will likely not be an exception. According to him, one striking trend that emerged boldly in the ongoing electioneering is the number of politicians' children seeking elective offices. The number is simply unprecedented. According to the country, politicians will seem to be paving the way for their children, perhaps to perpetuate their families' access to power or preserve the perks accruing to the family from there. Now, we've seen story where El Rufai's son, Ibori's daughter, and 3 other ex-governors' children named Reps Committee chairpersons. The House of Reps have appointed at least 5 former state governors' children serving in the lower chamber as heads of major standing. We've seen Governor Adeleke appoint his brother's wife. Also, we saw Mba also nominated Adachuku, daughter of the ex-governor of the state, Sullivan Chime. Quite a number of them. I mean, we can go on and on. What are your thoughts on this political dynasty? Some would say it closes the door to new, fresh ideas. Others would say it gives a good succession plan because the fathers are likely to be able to properly mentor and coach their wards and able to ensure that they are able to continue the legacy they probably have started, or maybe they'll better understand the vision of the party, of the political space. Either way, what are your own thoughts? You can call us on the numbers on the screen, 081-076-41679, 0902-4163440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. All right, let me come to you on your thoughts on this. So as I said, some will argue that if we keep bringing fresh faces, fresh ideas, it's like we're starting over again because the political system sometimes might be quite cumbersome. But others will say because you have family members who are somewhat in the system, it might be easier. I mean, what are your thoughts on these issues of having political dynasties going forward?
So political dynasties are, realities of our world. And, but I think we need to also be careful to separate it from nepotism, especially of people, family members that do not have the qualifications to assume any political appointment or office. So if a child of a governor or a president is elected, that means he goes through the process where Nigerians will come out and vote for that person. That means he has won that seat or that office in his own right as a politician. It may, the influence of his name or his family, his blood or whatever would play a part, especially in how he is able to appeal to people. If he comes from a family that have like good precedents, he's able to draw from that and say, I come from this stock, and so you know that because I'm from this sort of family, this is our legacy, So that is how you draw from it, but it has to be an office that Nigerians will vote for or choose themselves. I'm uncomfortable with the one where a leader or a politician or a governor, let's say, is appointing family members as, appointees. That one makes me uncomfortable because this one may not necessarily have to do with their qualifications or what they can bring to the table, but solely based on the relationships that they have. But in cases like that, those people too need to be vetted properly. We hope that the States of Assembly or the National Assembly, if it's at the federal level, they're able to go through the vetting process, and it shows that they have qualifications. So you're able to show that in spite of, or even though I am part of this family, I am well qualified to hold this office. And if you put me alongside 2 or 3 other competitors, I am better than the others, and I'm not choosing only based on, being a family member. So that's my thoughts.
What are your thoughts on this topic?
How would love it if that plays out? How would love it if we can separate nepotism from political opportunities coming to people who have their parents have served Nigeria. Nigeria is not Oyedile for anybody. Nigeria is not some people's properties, and we have families who who have taken Nigeria as their own, that from their grandfather to them, to their father and them, and then their children. It's like everybody knows whatever happens, we have a place in power. And the reason is, it's not because it is entirely wrong. Actually, it is not even wrong to have your children live after your legacy. Yeah. If your legacy is good. Based on where we are in Nigeria, majority of our politicians have not done us well. How do you rate somebody that has done us well? It's like things have gotten better for the citizens. If things have not gotten better for us as citizens, then we would blame the previous politicians. And when I say blaming previous politicians, is that I am saying that you're responsible for the challenges we're facing in this country. If you were there and you didn't make it better, why would I trust your children will make things better? Because your children are taking off from you. So I don't want you and your children and your grandchildren in power, because we've already seen what you did to us as a nation. Some politicians have cases against them. Some politicians have been confirmed guilty of corruption, and then we have their children in power. Like, don't you have shame? What exactly are you perpetuating? Like, what's the history? If you look at the American political dynasty, you will see, oh, the Roosevelt, the Kennedys, the Cuomo, what's this other guy? The Bush. But the Bushes, you would see that all of them, they have track record. Even though, of course, they're not perfect, they have their challenges, but they can always show that this is what we did. People actually vote for them because of who and what their father did. Not for them personally, but for the entire community. What we see in Nigeria is a case of, I have served you. And I have served this country, so you must find a position for my child. And I know that all children are not, all fingers are not created equally, all men are not created equally, but as long as you don't give equal opportunity, I get into the National Assembly and somebody else gets a position in the Assembly based on who they are.
Okay, Tope, are we looking at this through our own lens? Because if we look at the foreign political spaces, it's easy to assume that it's because, oh, their father did well and they ran for office and people love them. It's possible that it's also connection. There's nepotism. They're also blamed for nepotism. We had it in the Kennedys, also with the Bushes.
Trump?
Even Clinton brought his wife in.
Trump was a Nigerian. Let's just leave it.
So the point is, we shouldn't just assume that because it is Nigerian, it's because, oh, you're paying me back. What if the child, actually after seeing his father run, says, you know what, I'm actually interested in governance. I want to get into politics.
Yeah.
And because of his father's connection, obviously, he runs for office. So you'll be able to help us categorize it. There are those who run.
Yes.
There are those who are appointed. Now, on what basis are you appointed? Is it just because you are somebody's son or because you're actually qualified? If they do qualify, we say, oh, is it because you're Mr. Lagbaja's son? I'm not going to put you, so I don't think it's nepotism. Or if you do qualify, I can still give you the opportunity.
Yeah. And you know, you made a point where you're saying that these people, I know there's a Yoruba phrase you tried to explain earlier, which is you're holding us down for the... But doesn't that put the blame on the electorate? If you think that the predecessors were so bad, why are you voting for their children?
It's too much infrastructure.
I mean, you went out, you voted, you saw the different people on the list, and you decided to vote for this person. In the dynasties in America, let's say, for example, some of them may not be able to come out and run under the Republican Party or a Democratic Party because their names and families is under, you know, something like that. But if the people, in the end, you will blame the people. They say we should blame people for we get the government that we deserve. So if you think that this person, we know that your father has been arrested, he was confirmed corrupt person or a criminal, and the child has just come out and all of you rallied around him, not only voting, you campaigned, carried his placard and their placard up and down, and then you are now here blaming who exactly are we blaming here?
Thank you very much, because you see, I've always had this view in mind that the electorate, I always believe that we're just not mature enough to understand the issues where we are. Because it happened with this fine boy, this actor, down Banky W. I mean, if you had an educated electorate, you go to the polls, you not just say because everybody's doing LUP, you just go and vote LUP that you have no clue about. We saw it because, so how educated, how informed is the electorate to make choice? How mature is the electorate to actually make the right decisions? You keep saying, oh, let the people, which people are we talking about exactly? Is it the people that made this boy lose his well-campaigned election? Yeah. You know, that we all thought that this Banky W will get on the platform. And this is a boy that deserved a young man, sorry, I keep calling him. This is a man that deserved that. But unfortunately, You know, so the point is, how educated are we? Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take this further. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing Nigerian political dynasties, and the numbers are still on your screen for you to call 081 764 1679 090 241 163 440. Tokpo, you're going to come in here.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the difference between what is fair, what is right, a person of personal values and let us talk about having values. Let's talk about the fact that a lot of our political class and the appointments that comes to their family members and children is obviously conflict of interest. There's a conflict of interest there in that you know that there's going to be personal benefits to you by the appointment, or you are rewarding someone for their personal benefits to you pre-campaign by giving their children or their ward an appointment. And that's what we see happen over and over again. Your father gave me a platform to run and made me a governor. So I will reward your father by giving the child an appointment so that...
What if the child is qualified?
I am grateful. That's a burden. It's a burden that many people carry, that people that want fairness would carry, that even if I have a qualified wife that can do this contract for me, this is my wife's job. My wife is a doctor and she's good, and she can run this ministry for me, but my wife running it is wrong because I am the governor. So what do? Much as I don't like it, I will give it to someone who is equally qualified. They cannot be the politician's daughter. The politician's son is not the only qualified person in your state. I'm sure if you look, you will find somebody even more qualified. Okay. Because you know what is right and you don't want them to be able to attach something negative to you. They say don't hire somebody you cannot fire. Many politicians, many of our leaders right now have hired people into positions that they don't have the lever to fire, to caution, or to even query. And they are your commissioners, they are your advisors, but you cannot tell them what they've done is wrong. You cannot pull them to book. You cannot sue them to court for corruption because their father is your political godfather. And that's, for me, with that system, we cannot go forward.
Okay, let me take this call from Hawa, calling from Abuja. Thanks for calling, Hawa.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm from Abuja. I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This point, it boils down to the fact that we've weaponized poverty in this country. Because the ancestors or their forefathers or their fathers that have already accumulated this wealth from the country, they already have that pre-existing wealth to use in doing all these elections or contesting for all these posts. It helps them. Qualification or not is, I don't know, morality for me. Morality is not right. They may be qualified, but people are in those things parties. Sorry, I'm nervous.
It's okay.
In those parties, they are more qualified or qualified as much as their own relatives. What is it giving to them? Why was it the cycle? Why was it the vicious cycle? It's basically because of poverty. These people, all people are. They don't give them that same opportunity as much as they say the children do not pay for the sins of their father.
Right.
But in this country, Nigeria, I don't think it applies.
All right. Thank you very much, Hawa. Thank you very much, Hawa. I know. Mariam said it earlier that this is not just a Nigerian problem; it's a global problem. Every politics across the world is going through this. I mean, I was going online and I saw a picture of the three brothers from one American political family. That's the Kennedys: John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, all siblings, all ran for office, and they were in. Many of these families moved to political prominence from their states. and I'm just going through all the various lists. It's almost endless.
Some
people felt that the Rose Fitzgerald said that she was using the the book of Luke Testament, saying that to whom much is given, much is required. So that was what her entire family was saying, that we are supposed to be there. We have shown capacity, and we can continue to show capacity. So it's not a Nigerian thing. However, it's difficult for us to understand the dynamics surrounding how they are engaged. So again, there are people who will say that their fathers struggled for the democracy we're enjoying. There are some fathers that are human rights. Someone like me, let's just say, for example, Gani Fayemi's son is a lawyer, for example, and he's a son. And maybe his father never became an attorney general or something. And the government felt that you have the capacity to be the attorney general of our nation. Be the attorney general. So that again is based on the fact that his father's antecedents has given him that opportunity. Just like another person who doesn't have any connections is equally qualified, but the government will say, I'd rather go with Gani Fayemi because they feel that he has that kind of antecedent. So do we then think that it's a bad thing for us to have such engagements?
You were talking about burden. I think the burden of having a name falls on whether you get, there's a burden on however it plays. So there's a burden of, I know I'm qualified, I know I've worked for this office, but I'll always be doubted because of the name that I have. And unless someone has the opportunity to meet me one-on-one or who has worked with me, will be able to say, this has nothing to do with the name, or because, and then there are some people that we know that they are there and they are enjoying the perks of having a name. Yeah. So it works both ways. We have people who, what we want right now is, no matter what your name is, at whatever level, if you're running for office or political office, at the party level, there should be checks and balances. Because at the party level, there are people who do not come from any family names, who are making the same contributions towards the party, that will be able to check a name. Yeah. Like, okay, you're putting this person forward. What has he done for the party? How is he qualified? I've been here. So if the party does not check that person, then the party is to blame. If the party does not check nepotism, the party is to blame. That means the party is willing to put that person on the ballot. If the party now goes ahead where Nigerians have to vote for that person, and you vote for the person only based on name, we even have our own factors here. We have voted people based on religion. It's our religion from our place. We have voted people based on ethnicity. This is our son. This is the son of the soil. Yeah. There's just so many things with politics. Yes. With politics, it's never so clear-cut that is this really about qualifications or is this because of attachments, Let
me take this call. Tolagbe is in holding. Good morning, Tolagbe. You're live.
Yeah, good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I agree with Tope. It's not Oye Odile. The way they are turning into in our country become Oye Odile. Sometimes they shouldn't impose it on us, because the way it is now, they are trying to impose it on the citizen, whereby them they have ruled before, they also want their children or their family to rule. It shouldn't look that way. They should give other people a chance to rule as well. Nigeria is meant for everyone, not just a particular family or a particular people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so...
Let me just come in. I wanted to say something. Political dynasty in itself is not a problem in a mature democracy. In a mature democracy where there are checks and balance, where if you are found corrupt, even though your father was a former president, you will be impeached, a case will be made against you, you'll be indicted, and there's a structure to ensure there is justice to people. If we are in that kind of mature democracy, there's nothing wrong with political dynasty. Because, sometimes if my father is a politician and I have seen leadership at a very, very high level, I've seen sacrifice, I've seen the responsibility, I could have been groomed from that household to understand how to make decisions, how to relate with people. I should be coming in with the experience of 60 years that my father has served the country. That should give me an opportunity and leverage. But like I said, Nigerian democracy isn't mature enough. We don't have a strong check and balance system. We have many people that are corrupt, that there was even a clear corrupt case and a president told them to go. They were given, what do they call that stuff?
Pardon.
They were pardoned. someone that there was a clear case against, then that person's child becomes a governor or becomes a politician. That for me, there is no coloration of qualification. You have a bad name.
So that's why we should check them. So this is where we should check them. So a party now dares to bring that sort of person on their platform.
So let's go back
what should you and I do?
To the maturity part, which I'd like to talk about. Because even the American democracy took many years, centuries to get to that maturity. Yeah. And we must acknowledge that they also had quite a bit of this problem in the early. I read a report that said that today nepotism and the political dynasty has reduced, has declined. Because eventually when we get to that level, we have more people who are strong enough to get into. But we are still building.
Where it should be.
We are where we're still going to be depending on our closer circle. So, for example, if you become anything in government, who are the people you know? Obianjulu, Miriam, Mora, you know, these are people you first of all, or you like to open it up. But the people you can trust are people that you know. I know Miriam has been able to extensively do environmental, this. Let me put her in to do so because you know and trust. So we are still there. But I guess eventually we'll mature to the point where you don't need a Miriam anymore because there are now many options who are in your face that the systems have been.
And yes, because you were saying something about we don't have a mature. I think political dynasty is really a factor of a young democracy. Yeah. It's not something that is part of a mature democracy because a younger democracy, as Maria mentioned, you will find that. But by the time you have grown, you cancel out those dynasties. Now, just your father's name does not mean anything. There are some people you got, so what? There are some names you call it like, yes, so what? That was 100 years ago or 30 years ago. Who are you today or what has your family done today? What I also admire about like American politics is that you see like a nobody who has been to, you know, does not have a name, but he's able to grow up the ranks because of ideology, at least from what we see from outside. You know, once you get it, it's not a perfect system. But they also have one sort of nepotism, which is like the schools they go to. So it's as if with politics, there's always going to be something. So these are the people that go.
Let me pause you on that because I want to go back. I want us to dig in that. Okay. Let me take John. Good morning, John. Are you there? Hello,
yes,
John.
Maria. Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Yes, it's George, not John.
Oh, George. Thanks, George.
Maria. Yes, George.
Okay.
Sorry, Mariah, I'm calling this morning to commend you, the ladies, for the way you dressed. If you check, you see that you are all properly dressed. You don't have to expose some sensitive parts of your body to the public to look beautiful. Your program, you are molding the conscience and the moral fiber of the society in this, our country. A lot of women and young people are watching you, and they will be doing or they do what you do and what you say. So I'm just saying that you should watch the way you dress. Let today's model become a standard. That's just what I have to say. Good morning.
Thank you very much, George. It's your view, let it count. You're going to say something. You're talking about the schools they attend. Because even in the UK, we have the Eton College. I mean, these are places where you go there, and you know, so
you know, you enter politics.
So also, so we let's not make it look as if it's only happening here.
No, we're not.
Yeah, I know. So, but you're going to.
Yes, I was going to say it's not only about family. With politics, there'll always be something. So if it moves from family, it will move to the sort of schools that. So with politics, it's about like your circle of influence, and you will determine. For now, as you said, because we're still growing, a lot of us have. In Nigeria especially, our circle of influence will always be ethnicity and religion. And then families. We will go to where is the school that you went to. These are the sort of schools that, you know, the caliber of people that come out of these schools. Before you know it, hopefully one day, I don't know if politics will ever work out that way, that someone who is sitting in his house and Nigerians, for whatever reason, have heard the little thing he's doing in his village, and decide, you know what, all Nigerians go and meet that person. The way politics works, you have to align yourself with something and with someone. And whether we like it or not, it has a coloration of this person is being pushed by a system, not necessarily for what they have done. Yeah. So that's why it will make it hard to call out a particular family or call out a particular group for what they're doing, because it is politics.
So let me take Demola from Palm Group. Good morning, Demola.
Good morning.
You're live. Thanks for calling.
And I say good morning to the ladies. First time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Personally, I want to agree with the lady sitting at the middle. I agree with her perfectly. That's Stockwell. Because on moral basis, our politicians or leaders don't have that moral right to bring in their immediate family members. So we should just excuse for the moment, especially those who are still very active in politics. If it is somebody like the late Awolowo, the late Zig, you want to compensate, okay, it's okay. But if the family member are still very active, we should just excuse their immediate families. They don't have the moral right. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Leod, son of former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, also given appointments. We have Atiku's son, Emeka Adamawa, Commissioner's list. We have, I think I mentioned, Mba also nominated Adachukwu, daughter of the ex-governor of the state, Sullivan.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was a time in Lagos State where we had a minister, Alhaji Lai Muhammad, and his son was in the House of Rep. And then in some cases, you would even see people, you would see like three children across different political positions. It's not like we can entirely fight it. We're not trying to fight it here. Yeah. We're trying to raise awareness. Because if we don't discuss, the reason we're seeing mature democracies and there's improvement is because some people called out nepotism for what it is. Yeah. Some people called out the conflict of interest for what it is. So all we're doing is we're calling it out so that electorates are now aware. To be able to say that, as in, are you the only ones in this state? Are you the only ones in this community that every appointment is coming to your family? There's some things that you might be qualified for, but you will not give it to your family member because you know that there are other people that can also do it here. It shouldn't only be my people, and we're hoping that we get to that place.
I'm not even sure if we have, like, in the Constitution where it states if you can give appointments. Because that's the one I know personally I'm uncomfortable with, appointments to your children or very close family relatives. For me, I think that it should be if it isn't. Right. But, you know, as we've seen in America, we saw Trump give appointments to his children. I don't know if they were like constitutional
Nigerian passports. I don't
Yes?
Yeah, let me go on a quick break.
Okay.
I have to bring in our guest because he will always give us a perspective on this. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So to join this hot conversation is our guest, Dr. Dipo Awojide, popularly known as Ogbeni Dipo. He'll be discussing, he's sharing with us his thoughts on this Nigerian political dynasty issue we started conversing about before you came in. What are your thoughts on it? We've compared it to the American dynasties and see how families are engaged, see siblings, generation to generations are being part of politics. But Mariam said, in cases where you are appointed, it's different from when you're actually elected. So what are your thoughts on this political dynasties?
Yeah, so I think, so the fact that your father or your family, you know, has a very good name, maybe you've been a governor or a minister or, you know, something in the past, doesn't mean that you cannot take up a position in government, you know, either elected or appointed. But it must be said that everything has to be based on competence. So if you are competent, if you are good enough, you know, for any role, either appointed or elected, I think it's okay to actually go for it.
But the moral card of just because we don't want them to say that I'm making it about my family members, so therefore I should sacrifice my competent son or daughter for the sake of the perception.
Yeah, so you know, with morality, it's difficult to, you know, people have different moral codes, you know, just like cultures and religions. And what guides one person might not be what guides the next person. But there are also universal codes that we all must abide by. I mean, I heard some of the examples that you gave earlier. Bello El-Rufai, for example, is a completely different person from Nasir El-Rufai. And I can say this because he was former manager at Huawei in Abuja. He was former legislative aide to Basani, who is now governor in Kaduna State, and now is a performing House of Rep members. So does he have the competence? Yes. Should he not have put himself forward because he's a Nasir El-Rufai son? No. So
but would you say that Nigerians are not matured enough to that point? Because if we're in a different country, for example, we might respect the fact that he's qualified. But where we are, because we still need to be seen to be a certain way. Maybe our democracy is such that we just don't want it to be as a Tope sister. You know, all we can see is Tope sister. We're not seeing that she's qualified. We're just seeing that it's Tope sister. So maybe that's where we are.
Let me quickly add to that. In that, Mariam said something, and you also sort of alluded to it, that the moral compass thing might not work because each person, based on their background, might decide on how they want to view what is moral to them. And they can say that, yes, you might think it's not moral, but for me, I value the competence of the person I can trust more than what you think is moral. How about making it a constitutional thing where we are not appointing family members or direct relatives or indirect relatives in a conflict of interest situation into a position that would indirectly benefit you, like appointing your brother-in-law or appointing yours as a, like appointing people that their wealth is coming can flow legally, like
that
make it a law.
Is that reality or perception?
Reality.
No, so I think there has to be a balance, because you don't want to rule me out because my dad was so and so 5 years ago. If I have what it takes to actually take up a position, you know, in the health sector or the education sector, for example, if I have the education, the skills, the competencies, and the capabilities, why should I be ruled out? So if there's ever going to be a legislation to that effect, we have to think about everything, you know, in a very holistic way. Okay, think about the advantages, think about the disadvantages. Okay, does that mean that if my dad has built his own career and retired as a director in the presidency, then I shouldn't, you know, work for government?
You know, while you're talking, I remember that when I was with my dad said something like, I'm not leaving money for you, Mariah, I'm leaving your name. Now, what does that mean now? Because if my father says, all I'm leaving for you is your name, because I expect that my name will open doors for you.
Yes.
Now, we're saying that name should not open doors for you because we don't want, because you're Alawa Kabasharu's child. I don't care who you are.
Exactly.
I have, you know, so is that what we're saying? Because when we keep telling people that I have a good name is better than riches, what do we mean exactly?
But in reality, our family names, our family backgrounds and pedigrees are social capitals that we carry about.
And we agree. Well, I think we all agree
that's
with
the
that.
reality.
I don't want people to, before people will not think that that's what...
I want to have different aspects.
That wasn't what I
No, I think, you know, you raised an important point. I don't think you were wrong. And it's because of the dangers and the risks that would lie in bringing people so close to you, what it could portend for the bigger picture. But the thing is, in this case, whether we like it or not, the burden is on the electorate. Yes. You will finally decide if the name is such a big deal to you. Then when a party puts that person on their card, X them.
Yeah.
Don't do anything, you know, and then maybe next time, when they're not going to put another person on their platform, they'll be careful the sort of person that they feel will appeal to Nigerians.
Yeah.
But it's a valid fear that how am I sure that these people are not in some sort of family arrangement to make sure that the resources of my country siphoned through this. So it's
I think one of the key points is we can actually consider this issue, you know, on an issue by issue basis. So if someone is a junkie, for example, who is not competent, because there are children of rich men, politicians, who they've sent abroad and they have wasted their lives. So if they are a junkie, they haven't achieved anything in their own personal, you know, oh, my father, you are now 35 or 36. You can't be saying, carrying that cannot be the only thing, you know, that family name. So on an issue-by-issue basis, if someone is competent enough, they are well-educated, you know, they have the skills, why not? Okay.
I think we've been able to thrash this issue the best. Let me comment on social media before I wrap up on this, before we move on to our next one.
Ade Baptist is saying that the reality is it affects all sectors of the society. He says that just like the other time when people attacked Adeboye's son for his motivational speech on business, I remember that. They said even in the Bible, Eli used his sons as priests, but guess what? His children never walked in his footsteps, as in they were not worthy. Same thing for Samuel, who his children too were not good in following in his footsteps, but they were appointed. Should we continue to allow it in politics? No, the only way is the electorate to stand up like the last election.
Just like I like that comment, because you've seen it in various banks. The chairman of a bank gets his son to come in to be MD, bringing, you know, these are all things we've seen in politics, in churches. The general overseer grazes his son, you know. So
I have one example. So, don't laugh at me. Beyonce's daughter is dancing with top-rate dancers on a world tour. It's her mother's platform.
Personal thing, not our
Commonwealth. The other dancers will be like, do you know how many years it took me to get to this platform?
But it's not our platform.
But do you know that churches can be seen as Commonwealth?
Yes.
Churches, so I'm just saying that they're there, but the point is that whether we like it or not, where we are right now, we've not reached the phase where we have a system. I mean, I know Redeem is the system. Redeem RCC doesn't belong to any family. So it's been handed over to a different family. So we don't know which family is going to take it over. But there are other churches that are owned by a man or a woman. And they are, I mean, we saw a synagogue or something that the wife is in that church now. So these are things. So where we are as a nation, I guess, is something that we understand. But at the same time, we must ensure that corruption, that we are also very, very objective in this choice we make. So people don't feel as if they are being sidelined, if indeed they are qualified. I think that's all we can take on this topic. When we come back, we'll move on to our next topic, which we're going to get our guest to also share his thoughts on. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So the special advisor to the president on special duties, communication and strategy, Mr. Dele Alake, said that by today, 7 p.m., there will be a national address by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The broadcast will be 7 p.m. for everybody to join in to hear what he has to say. Nigerians are expectant because we'd like to see or hear what the president has in store. But this morning, right now, we'd like to open our phone lines to hear from Nigerians. What are your expectations? We've had this president remove subsidy from his first speech, floated the Naira, offered an 8,000 Naira palliative, revoked it and said it will be reviewed. And then we've had promises of various palliatives at some point to help alleviate the hardship incurred on Nigerians. And then he came up with the ministerial list. So many things the president has said. So what are your expectations at 7 p.m. tonight? That's our conversation today. Should I start with the ladies or start with our guests? Let me start with our guests. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, in the last couple of weeks, so I've been in Nigeria for 2 weeks now. And, you know, I've said that the most important thing for me right now is for the palliatives to get directly to the people. You know, so we have... there's the state governments, there's the local government, and majority of the state governors are anti-LG autonomy. I mean, that's a different issue. But I think it is a bit challenging to expect that the federal government will go to, you know, every corner of the country. So the state governors are in the best position to actually, I mean, working with the local government as well, you know, to ensure that the palliatives, whatever the state government, whatever plans the state government has, whatever plans the federal government has, that it gets to the people directly. Because what happens in this country is that when the government wants to do something, then politicians and elected leaders, they corner like 30 or 50% of these things, then the poor people start to grumble. What I've seen is people are really in need, and these people need some sort of succor, and they need it urgently.
Let's talk about what palliative, let's define palliative, because sometimes it's a broad word. The government said 8,000 Naira, but to an individual, maybe that's nothing. So maybe we need to really define what palliative is. Is it transportational palliative, where you enter transport for free? Is it where you get food subsidy, where you go to the market and they give you food for free? What exactly do we need? Because government was even suggesting 25,000 naira for labor. They're saying that they're going to increase it. This civil service, 25,000 naira extra. And they're saying we're rejecting it. What we want is this to go back to normalcy. So let us define palliative. How do we understand palliative, and what we want government to do exactly to be palliative?
Yeah, so I think there's the long term, so there are things that the government needs to do on the long term. On the short term, free transport. I mean, when I was growing up in Abuja, we had urban mass transit. Now Lagos State has BRT, and some other states have some certain arrangements. Free transport for people, civil servants, if they get 10,000 naira monthly extra on whatever they get, until the end of this year, which comes up to about 60,000 naira. Fertilizer subsidies, these are some of the things that, that government actually needs to do. I mean, I've actually got a long list of, I shared a tweet a couple of days ago now. Welcome more investors, which will lead to more jobs. Increase minimum wage immediately. Manage inflation. Invest in human capital, which will increase our skills level and the jobs. Create an enabling environment, which will lead to jobs. Invest more in the informal sector. Tailor, Okada, all these things, all of these guys, you can actually scale up, their businesses, reduce the cost of governance. Again, the people can see all of the Prado and Lexus that you are driving, your fine dresses on Instagram, your children going abroad. They can see all of these things. They can see all of these things.
So I have a bit of divergent view from what you're supporting as palliative, and I feel that yes, palliative is a short-term solution to support a challenging situation. And for me, what I would call a palliative in this case shouldn't be a cash transfer to anybody, not for civil servants, not for the poor of the poor, because we know how it goes with cash transfers and how we would be looking for even with all the vetting that has gone through all civil service, we still find dead people collecting salaries. We find people that have jackpot collect salary, ghost workers still show up. So I feel like anything cash shouldn't be done. But there's a system that has worked in other countries. What people need is food. If we can eat, people can sleep anywhere, if they can eat. One of the basic things, because we don't have survival without food. That's the number one need every human being has that we can't do without. And many Nigerians right now cannot afford to buy food. So if we're providing food,
how do we provide
how I would love food to be provided is that Nigerians are extremely religious. Everybody in Nigeria worships somewhere. And other developed countries have found that that's a way to provide social intervention, is to partner with food existing, not cooked, raw. Okay. So we're giving raw food. And that will stimulate the economy in a different way.
But you still need the government
it will stimulate the economy in that farmers are already having issues with what's the value of our food? How do we get our food out? So the government is buying out food. We're buying out rice, we're buying out potatoes, and we're sharing it to people. That no matter where you find yourself, you can go to your local government and get a bag of rice. I've collected this small bag of rice and beans, and I know that I have food for my family all through. Or ward level, or that's small cocoon. Yes. For me, if we can channel palliatives through food, the government will fund the community, will fund farmers, and will feed the nation. And there's no argument on it is important to everyone to get food.
Let me come to you on that.
I completely agree. But again, you are going to rely on government officials and fellow Nigerians.
That was good.
So my key point, and the next on my list was, stabilize food prices. That was the next on my list. Address poverty head-on. We are still going to deal with Nigerians in our churches, in our mosques, in our Ifa, worshiping whatever.
House, our family members.
Like what happened in the IDP camp.
We are still going to deal with fellow Nigerians. So the thing is, we have to find a way to ensure that when they give me 100 naira to give to the people, I don't corner half of it and it ends up in a warehouse somewhere that people now have to go and attack. So if it is churches, mosques, whatever, local government, ward level, let it get to the people.
So this is not about government intervention now. It's about the people taking responsibility of whatever it is. So even if I'm faithful to the 8,000 naira and I make sure it gets everybody, maybe it will work.
Yes.
But unfortunately, because we're not faithful, now you're saying let's take the physical food to Nigerians. We know our people, we know ourselves. The transporter himself would stop by this village and drop 50% before it now gets to Lagos. You know, these are our people, whether we like to believe it or not.
Yes.
Wow.
So how then do we fix out? So how do we?
I think we need to make examples of people.
Hey.
So if you if you have done something, you know, they've told you to go and give food worth 200,000 naira to people.
IDP camps.
People steal from IDP camps. How wicked can you be that you're stealing from people who are internally displaced?
They have no home.
It's the height of wickedness. So if you can make example of a few people, you know, and put processes and systems in place to discourage. I mean, I don't know how exactly.
Let me take Nima is in her house sending comments saying that I disagree with religious centers. Oh, CDS are better. So that's one person saying you can't trust religious centers.
I put all of them.
So again, I mean, as much as go ahead, Mariam.
Yes, I was also going to say, you know, giving of food directly. That's also a group of Nigerians. There are some people that's not what they need. That's not what will help them, like getting that food. What they will need is they are going to work and they want transportation costs to be taken out or subsidized. So I think it should be a culmination, mix of the different palliatives. So food would, maybe the very poor of the poor, you know, they are unable, these are people who, even in a regular economy, are getting food from one, you know, they are really poor. Either they don't have a job or they don't even have where they are living. So that will work. But there's also that level of poverty where it's not that food, but we want to go to work.
Yes.
We
cannot. We're only able to eat for today. I have my Okada. I will get on my Okada. I will do my business. But after today's, you know, and you've now taken subsidy out. So now to buy petrol for that my Okada is a problem. But I can work. You know, I don't need to go and stand on a queue for food. What kind of help would that Okada man need? So I'm a hairdresser. No problem. You have increased price of petrol. I used to put on my gen. I want to do my business. If I go to do my business, how would, you know, those are the things. So where would, so the sort of palliatives those people need is not food. It is in subsidized electricity. Yes. It is in subsidized, I don't know.
Transportation.
Providing the electricity.
That's long term.
So the truth is that, just like you said, they will have to diversify. So for example, the Okada rider can say, I can't take Okada right now because I can't afford fuel. But I can do a different kind of business, or I can get a different kind of job, and he now has to transport himself there. So if government either acquire these buses or try, because I know that I was told that some churches actually rent government buses on Sundays to bring people to church because that is it's part of their own palliative to help members get to church. I'm hearing that some churches in Abuja will get government to give them the buses. So these are buses that are available. Can we have these buses on the road where people don't have pay, or maybe they pay next to nothing to get to work?
Yeah, a lot of churches have buses.
Yes.
And like packed during the week. A lot of churches have buses.
Not all churches are buoyant like that.
But I'm not saying all. A lot of churches have buses, and those buses are not in use during the week. For my own church, they bought a few and realized that why are we keeping buses that were not used during the week? So they decided to sell the buses and only lease buses for Sundays, which was a more productive approach. But some churches do have buses branded, and they could work in conjunction with the government to say government will fill the bus. The bus can be used by government to provide transportation for free for people on within the days of the week.
That's private helping government.
Yeah.
For government, I feel free transportation will work very well.
Or transport voucher.
I know that states are making giving some days off during the week.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go to work every
2 days.
3 days, I think. So those are the different sort of palliative. But, you know, this conversation has brought it right back to our doorstep now as Nigerians. The part that we play in making sure that the distribution of palliatives is done right. We have blamed government for its corruption, and it is true. But there's also a corruption that we have and we play amongst ourselves. When are we going to address it?
Yes.
And how do we plan on addressing it?
Okay, we'll come to that because I want you to also talk about the ministerial appointments, your thoughts on that. Because, as I said, the president had made some few appointments in batches. So Labour Party, I saw in the papers this morning, said that, first of all, is it even legal for you to do it in batches? I mean, they're still going to look for the legal, to see how if they can take the president to court on this. That's one end. they're also saying that it's some recycled politicians, that they were expecting technocrats and people who really, really business-oriented to be part of this list. In your thoughts, what do you think about the list of the ones that we've seen so far?
First of all, I mean, I recently resigned as a senior lecturer, so I am a lecturer. I've been a lecturer in the last 10, 12 years. Okay. I don't know anything about law, so I'll let Labour Party, you know, go and do whatever they want to do. But the point here is the list that I saw, you know, had very good people. You know, there's Dele Alake, there's Lateef Fagbemi, you know, there's Nasir El-Rufai. You know, there's some, I mean, you could say more politicians than technocrats, but some of them are also technocrats, and some of them are technocrats and politicians. So it depends on what lens you're actually viewing them from. I understand there's going to be a second list at some point in time. Just 11
people more, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully we get a mixture. I mean, very good women on here as well. Anatu, Beta, Edu. You know, so it's a mixture of. You know, we could argue about, oh, do we have enough technocrats? Do we have enough women? Or can we send it in batches? You know, all of those. For me, the most important thing is get these people in the right ministries to solve our many problems. Because we don't have that much time to mess about and, you know, play around.
Learn on the job.
The people who get whatever ministries, who get appointed, please get the best competent hands and do your job. Because if you don't, then we are all in trouble.
So this next batch that we're expecting, do you hope that the president picks technocrats or still rely on politicians?
I mean, so because of my bias, I would say more technocrats. But I know that, you know, folks who are, you know, party members and politicians might actually disagree with me.
But do you think it was a reward for party loyalists? Because that was part of the conversation that this is me saying, thank you, Wike, God bless you. Yeah, take.
You did well.
You did well, Wike, take. I replied, good boy.
You should have asked that. I want you to ask him, what do you think of Wike on the list?
Oh wow, Wike, this is putting me on the spot. Personally, I like Wike as a person. No affiliations to PDP whatsoever, but I just like him. I like his band. I think he delivered for the people in Rivers State. They call him Mr. Project. Some of their people disagree, but hey, this is what, you know, politics is. Dave Umani as well in Ebonyi. Umahi. Yeah, I think he, you know, he has some projects as well. I think they are worthy to be on the list.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue our conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have Ogbeni Dipo with us. Yes, Tope had a question.
Yes, I sort of had this feeling that the president had already prepared us for the ministerial list ahead of time, before he even contested that he had a team. And so I share in that feeling that we should have gotten the full list before the deadline. And the fact that there isn't, we are having half list now, makes it look like we were not as prepared as we were thinking we were prepared. But the question for me is, based on the people that have been nominated so far, was there anyone that shocked you? And are there like 2 or 3 that you are excited about and you are hoping gets a particular portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, so there's Dele Alake, there's Lateef Fagbemi, there's Olawale Edun, there's Nasir El-Rufai. These are people who have proven themselves, you know, in the private sector, in the public sector, and I would expect that whatever ministries that these guys get, that they will do an excellent job. Because if they don't, we are in trouble.
Okay.
Well, is there anyone that you were like surprised to see?
I mean, there's no one on the list that I was disappointed to see, because I think that Tinubu knows how to, you know, on for talent. You know, there's Osibajo, there's Fashola, and, you know, all of the people
Just
around.
checking. Are you an APC member? Just checking.
No, I'm not.
Okay, just checking. All right. So, you're from Osun State.
Yep.
And you go by Ogbeni Dikko. Obviously, this is something that the former governor, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, started. And this is something the current governor has totally reversed. You know, all the various... all that. I mean, he has practically reversed practically every single thing that... what are your thoughts on this current governor? And do you think that Osun made the right choice with this governor?
Okay, so if I start from the choice of the people, I've always said, you know, that even if I have my biases, I've always said yes to one man, one vote. This is the person that Osun people wanted. Of course, APC had their internal issues. Yeah. You know, you had one faction with Aregbesola, then you had Oyetola, and all of those issues. So all of those things actually played, you know, a factor in the outcome of the election. But with what I've seen so far, I don't want to say that I am disappointed. I'm happy to give the governor, Adeleke, and the state government, you know, more time to actually settle down and let us see what exactly they want to do. Say 1 year, for example. You know, let's see exactly what their plans are, how they implement, you know, their policies on job creation, on youth development, on MSME development, on creating, you know, on creating opportunities, you know, for our people in Osun State.
What are your thoughts on his appointment?
Okay. Yes, I was going to say that, you know, I want to take us back a bit. We were talking about this food and subsidy and palliatives, and in the news we read in Adamawa State, Nigerians had gone in and they had looted food banks and warehouses, you know. Private. And people, yes, and people, government as well as private, and people have this, is the explanation for it where they're saying, well, it's the policies that's making Nigerians act this way. Nigerians are desperate because of the policies. What do you think is, you know, like the right step to go? I know we have sort of discussed all that, but, you know, this is, we're seeing almost like an example of how far Nigerian desperation can go. Is it really about desperation, or is this just about crime?
So this is a very tricky question. There shouldn't be no... So I see, you know, people go and steal rail lines and stuff from, you know, rail infrastructure. And some people say, oh, it's because they are hungry. Oh, it's because... There should be no justification, you know, for actually going to attack a NEMA warehouse or a, you know, any warehouse of the government or any, you know, sabotaging, you know, infrastructure of the government. There should be no excuses for this. But I would also like to put it on record to say that for those who are in charge of running this country, for those who are in charge of our various states, you need to get to the people, the palliatives to the people, succor to the people as quickly as possible, because things are very difficult.
So true. You have 1.2 million followers on X.
Yeah, Twitter.
On Twitter. But one of the things we've had to contend with as a nation is the issue of cyberbullying, fake news, false stories that we see on social media. Hate speech on social media. How do you think we can best, as a nation, address this? I know Europe is doing a lot of policies, putting policies in place. What do you think we should do as a nation?
We have the Cyber Act crime 2015, I think it is, and I think a lot of us Nigerians, we take the law and we take the liberty into our own hands. And I go and say something about you that is totally untrue, fabricated. Oh, I saw her at Ikeja with someone's husband, blah, blah, blah. And when she gets me arrested, then the whole world will say, oh, she's a wicked person. She's using her power because she's connected to the governor. Then they start making excuses for me, who is the foolish one, for going to fabricate a totally incomplete story. So for me, I think the law, I think we need to test the law more, you know, and people, you know, people say a lot.
That's what happened to you, actually.
Of course. People say a lot of things. intimidation, bullying, you know, targeted trolling. They say all sort of things. They make up fake stories, you know, and when you act, you get accused, you know, libel, slander, death threats, because now, you're not supporting, their candidates.
So this takes me to the importance of law enforcement and to the judiciary. Because the truth is that no matter how much policy we put in place, and we'll go back to the president's speech this evening, we really need the judiciary to have a focus. Because there's nothing you put in place. If there are no sanctions or, what's what I'm looking for? Sanctions for crimes, enforcement of laws, people will continue to take liberty.
Yes.
And that's what we need. So it's not as if we don't have the laws. It's not as if we don't have the ability. The palliatives can go to people. But somebody must be held accountable. Yeah. The law must fill its full course. Judiciary must quickly take the case, and the person must be seen. You know, in some countries, they took the bull by the horn, and they were actually hanging some people. I mean, as much as we don't want to do that anymore. But the truth is that, maybe I've always argued also that maybe where our democracy is, we still need to put that death penalty back into the law, where people actually get hanged for certain crimes. Because if we don't do that, if they don't see it, people won't continue. We can't get a sane society if we, the people, don't continue to understand and uphold the law. But the judiciary is so slow.
Yeah.
It takes forever. So if I sue you to court for libel, for hate speech and all that, it's going to take months and years to get justice. So what's the point?
Can I just quickly say something? And now she has spoken, we're speaking about social media. Then in another context, you spoke about death sentence. What some people will now do is they will go and say, exactly, they will say she's suggesting that people who abuse people on social media, you know, should be hanged. Deliberate disinformation.
Manipulation.
Manipulation of what people have said. And again, it is a crime. I think people need to go review that, 2015. Someone has said, oh, if you want to do your political propaganda and whatever, that's understandable. But bringing people into disrepute, deliberately defaming people, I think there has to be actions. There has to be consequences.
We have to wrap up. But let me just take from each of you what your expectations are of the president's speech tonight. What is that thing you would like him to talk about, to touch on? Let me start with you before I come to the ladies. What would you like to hear from him today at 7 p.m.?
Yeah, so I mean, what we have seen so far is leadership, since the inauguration. Of course, some actions could have been taken, could have been taken faster. I want to see a reassurance of the renewed hope that was promised to the people. Because you want to get the people on your side, but you also don't want to get the people on your side by just speaking. You want to get the people on your side by taking actions, necessary action. And like I always say, good governance is the best PR that any government can actually rely on. Yeah. So I want to see, the president, chart and show us the direction, the future. This is where we are going. This is how we are going to get there. Touch on important sectors: education, healthcare, youth development, human capital development, infrastructural development. Briefly touch on all of those things and share that vision of renewed hope with the Nigerian people.
Yeah, I think for me, what a lot of Nigerians are just screaming about is really the price of fuel and how it just seems like it will keep increasing. And so people want to know about the palliatives and also how it will be distributed. People just need to hear that government understands that there's an issue and is putting plans in place that will take off as soon as possible. So I would like to hear what his plans are about that.
I don't want to hear, I understand how you are feeling. He has said it several times. We know that he understands how we are feeling. What I want to hear from the president is in specific numbers, what he is cutting from the administration. How is he adjusting the ministries? What is he cutting from his own, the budgets assigned to his own presidency? What are the sacrifices he's making in specific terms? So I want ratios. I want numbers. I want you to give me the arbitrage. What's the difference between what sacrifices, what it would have been at this time last year and what I am doing now differently? I did not buy cars. I've saved you 1 billion. I did not buy new chairs. I'm not putting that new chairs on the government. I'm buying the new chairs for Aso Rock from my pocket. I want to hear specific numbers of the sacrifice the government is making to cut their coats. Then I want to now like Mariam said, hear what else, what in specific terms they want to do for us as citizens.
Okay, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say. How do you plan to reduce cost of governance? That was exactly what I was going to say, because Nigerians want to see what our leaders are telling us to do. So we have no problems with you giving us palliatives. We have no problems with you telling us to withstand the current situation. But we must see that you as the executive are also taking measures to reduce the cost of governance and also tighten your belt. If we see that, when you now, after you've established that, you now tell us the palliatives, we can better listen. When I just feel like, okay, we're just going to be telling us what you want to do, maybe they feel that, because you still need time to trust, to earn that trust. I think it's Obiajulu that said that we don't trust the government. And it's not your fault or anybody's fault. It's been years of neglect, years of mistrust and distrust of government, fake promises, and you know, but it's going to take time to earn that back. So you will be bruised, you'll be bashed by us, but please take it in. Because even the president himself said it, that abuse me. I am ready for it. I am prepared for it. Don't worry, I can take it. I asked for this job. So don't worry, I am ready for it. Don't worry. So he will take the bashing, but the truth is that we must see, not just tell us, we must see that indeed the government is also tightening up their belts before we can therefore believe that indeed it's time for us to tighten our belt. I think that's all. Any comments on social media? I think I have just 1 minute left, so we can take our comments on social media.
There are so many messages. Titi says, the truth is palliatives are unnecessary gimmicks that Nigerians are not ready to hear again. Government should reduce fuel price and reduce every other thing, and every other thing will go down. That's according to TTK. Alimi says, my suggestion is all food should be sold at the lowest price to the masses. People are really hungry. Andrew in Streatham says that, okay, let me not take Andrew in Streatham, please. Let me take Sam Olowu. He was talking about the previous topic, and many people are supporting all our contribution, that they are also waiting for the speech to get information from the president.
Okay, that's all we can take on today's show. Thank you very much, Ogbeni Dikpo, for coming to the show. We hope to have you more often. Whenever you're in the country, we'd love to have you around. So we're all waiting for 7 p.m. to hear what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has to say to the nation. Hopefully, we'll then discuss that possibly tomorrow. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.